Let's get started with our first news. Demetrious Johnson has officially responded to Ilia Topuria after Ilia made some very bold and controversial remarks about him, stating that he's never been a fan of Demetrious, also known as Mighty Mouse. The comments were made during Ilia's recent appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, and they quickly caught the attention of fans and fighters alike. Now, here's exactly what Ilia had to say on the show. He began by acknowledging Mighty Mouse's legacy. He said, "You've got to listen. You've got to think about Mighty Mouse too, man. Mighty Mouse in his prime was a bad mother, man. He would do to guys like when he suplexed Ray Borg and caught him with an armbar in the middle of the air and finished him." And then he paused. He looked at Joe Rogan and said, "You don't think so? I see your face. I see your face." Joe responded with a laugh, but Ilia continued, this time shifting gears and revealing how he truly feels about Demetrious. He said, "No, it's not like, but I don't know. I never was a big fan of him. No, never." Ilia went on to explain why he never really admired Demetrious. "I think from his first, when you call yourself a Mickey Mouse, Mighty Mouse, I always thought that he was a Mickey Mouse. I'm like, bro, how you calling yourself a Mickey Mouse?" Despite the criticism, Ilia did give some credit where it's due. He admitted, no, he was a good fighter. He was a very technical fighter. He dominated the whole division. Then he asked rhetorically, how many times did he defend his belt? Like, many times. 14 times. So while Ilia Topuria acknowledged Demetrious Johnson's achievements inside the octagon, he made it clear that he never connected with him as a fan. And now, Demetrious has responded. And in typical cool, calm, and collected Mighty Mouse fashion, he didn't engage in a back and forth, nor did he throw shade. Instead, he took to X, formerly known as Twitter, and kept it simple. He wrote just 3 words, "All Gucci, boys." With that one short response, Demetrious Johnson showed that he's completely unbothered by the comments and continues to move forward with grace and confidence. Moving on to the next update, and this one's a big one for fight fans around the world. Charles Oliveira has officially revealed his game plan for a potential super fight with the undefeated featherweight king, Ilia Topuria. That's right, in a recent sit-down interview with Colin MMA, Do Bronx didn't hold anything back. When asked about the possibility of facing Topuria, Charles made it crystal clear. If the UFC gives him the green light to step in the cage with Ilia, he already knows exactly how he plans to handle business. And in true Charles Oliveira fashion, it's going to be all gas, no brakes. He's not worried about the hype. He's not concerned about Topuria's power. Charles is focused on doing what he's always done. Forward pressure, relentless offense, and looking for the finish. When asked specifically about Ilia Topuria's knockout power and aggressive counter-striking, Oliveira didn't shy away from giving credit where it's due. He said, yes, Ilia has power, he's fast, he comes in with confidence, but that doesn't change how I fight. Let that sink in. Charles Oliveira is aware of the danger, but he's not letting it change who he is. I'm going to move forward, I'm going to press, I'm going to go for the finish. That's vintage Oliveira right there. It's the same high-risk, high-reward style that's made him one of the most thrilling fighters in UFC history. The same style that helped him dismantle names like Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, and Beneil Dariush. Let's not forget, Charles holds the record for the most finishes in UFC history. He doesn't just win, he ends fights. Whether it's a slick submission or a brutal TKO, Do Bronx brings chaos, pain, and poetry into the octagon every time he steps in, and that's why this matchup would be absolute fireworks. On one side, you've got Ilia Topuria, young, undefeated, fearless. A sniper with heavy hands, incredible footwork, and the confidence of a champion who's never tasted defeat. On the other side, Charles Oliveira, a Brazilian buzzsaw with world-class jiu-jitsu, underrated striking, and a warrior's spirit that refuses to quit. This fight would be more than just a clash of styles. It would be a clash of eras. The new guard versus the veteran. Precision versus chaos. Control versus pressure. And if it happens, Oliveira has already promised he's not coming to play it safe. He's not coming to survive. He's coming to do what he always does. Press forward, take risks, and end the fight. One thing's for sure, if Do Bronx and El Matador ever meet inside the cage, it's going to be an instant classic. Get your popcorn ready. Now let's shift gears to another heated story that's gaining serious traction in the MMA world. Arman Tsarukyan has officially sent a warning to veteran lightweight Dan Hooker, and things are getting personal. The tension between Arman Tsarukyan and Dan Hooker has been quietly brewing, but now it's boiling over. It all started after Arman withdrew from his highly anticipated fight against Islam Makhachev at UFC 311, a move that didn't sit well with some fans, and especially not with Dan Hooker. Hooker took to social media to throw some jabs, mocking Tsarukyan and calling him out for pulling out of the biggest fight of his career. He questioned Arman's toughness, and of course, Arman wasn't just going to sit back and take it. Fast forward to a recent episode of the Jackson podcast, and Tsarukyan fired back with a sharp warning aimed directly at Hooker. When asked if something had happened behind the scenes between the two fighters, Arman kept it cool but firm. He said, no, I was just talking, that's it. But then he added something a little more telling. When we're in the same room, it's gonna be shut up and just listen to me, because I know how these guys are. They talk on the internet, but when it's face to face, they're scared. That's a bold statement, and Arman didn't stop there. When asked how he sees a potential fight with Dan Hooker playing out, Tsarukyan didn't even flinch. He said, I'm going there to play. It's easy money. He doubled down, saying that fighting Hooker doesn't even make sense for him right now. I don't need money, I need legacy, Arman explained. If I beat him, people will just say, you beat a top 10 guy, but Hooker's not a contender. He's never beaten top fighters, not anyone in the top 5. Arman Tsarukyan clearly feels that Hooker is beneath him in the rankings and in skill, but make no mistake, if this fight happens, the trash talk won't stop until someone gets finished. This rivalry is starting to get real, and fans are watching it unfold in real time. Let's keep it going, and this one's gonna shake up some fans. Daniel Cormier believes there's no chance we see Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria anytime soon. Now, this all stems from a recent interview with none other than Khabib Nurmagomedov. The former lightweight GOAT and close advisor to Islam made it very clear Ilia Topuria has not earned a shot at Islam Makhachev. Khabib dismissed the idea altogether, saying that Ilia needs to prove himself at 155 before even thinking about stepping into the cage with the lightweight king. Khabib's words, Ilia needs to fight a top contender first. Islam only wants to fight established lightweights. And that right there caught Daniel Cormier's attention. On his show, DC reacted to Khabib's comments and broke it down for the fans. He said, that's more or less our stance. That's Khabib. Hey, that right there is as telling as anything you'll hear from anyone. That's Team Islam saying, this fight, it's not really happening. According to DC, this is the first time we're seeing the inner circle of Makhachev speak out and shut down the hype. We know now, DC says that Team Makhachev feels Ilia hasn't earned it, and if that's how they feel, then I don't think he gets the fight. And he's not wrong. Khabib also emphasized that Islam is the champion, and as the champ, he deserves a say in who he defends against. He's not here for super fights based on hype alone. He wants merit-based matchups, and Ilia hasn't done the work at lightweight. DC goes on to say that this situation feels like a bit of a standstill. No, there's a clear solution. Ilia needs to fight someone at 1555 first. DC says, why not Ilia versus Charles Oliveira? It makes sense. Charles is a former champ. He's tentatively in line after Makhachev finishes business with Arman. Ilia versus Oliveira would be a massive fight, and the winner give them the title shot. Until then, DC's calling it like he sees it. Hearing Khabib say that makes me feel it's not going to happen. For now, the Makhachev versus Topuria dream fight looks like just that. A dream. Let's talk about another powerful and truly heartfelt moment from UFC 314. After a tough TKO loss to Paddy Pimblett, Michael Chandler shared a moment backstage that hit fans right in the soul. This one wasn't about belts, rankings, or highlight reels. It was about something much deeper: fatherhood. Chandler posted a clip to his Instagram, a short, emotional video that captured the raw and unfiltered reality of defeat and the beauty of how we choose to respond to it. In the caption, Chandler opened up about the experience, writing, "Moments and Nutella cheers. This was the first time Hap saw me lose a fight in person. He was full of emotions backstage, and rightfully so. The blood and swelling only exacerbated the fears of how Daddy was doing. As he held my hand while I got stitched up, But in the midst of chaos and pain was the perfect time to show him how a man responds. Don't tell them, show them, bested but never beaten. Walk on, see you at the top. That's not just a caption, that's a life lesson. In the video, Chandler kneels beside his son, both of them still dressed in the raw aftermath of battle. His face swollen, his body bruised, but his spirit unshaken. And more importantly, he turns the loss into a teaching moment. You hear Chandler say to Hap, "Ready? Spin it. Spin. Okay, listen, challengers, we're going to work extremely hard. We're going to try to do the best that we can. Sometimes we're going to fall short, come up short, but we're always going to keep our head up. Even if you get some cuts on your face, even if you get some cuts, okay? I love you, cheers." And with that, they raise their Nutella cups in a simple, powerful toast, not to victory, but to resilience. Moments like this remind us, in the fight game, just like in life, it's not always about who wins. Sometimes it's about who stands tall after falling. Michael Chandler, walk on. Now we move on to a controversial story that's getting a lot of heat online. Dana White and the UFC are currently facing major backlash after signing a fighter that has many fans and even fighters scratching their heads. We're talking about Jose Enrique, a former Dana White's Contender Series fighter who not only lost his shot back in 2022, but also got hitty with a 2-year suspension after testing positive for PEDs right before that very fight. Yep, Enrique was busted for taking nandrolone, which is a type of synthetic testosterone commonly used to enhance muscle growth and strength. It's a clear violation of anti-doping rules. And despite the loss, despite the steroid use, the UFC has now officially signed him. This didn't sit well with the MMA community at all. According to Alex Bahonen, despite being suspended, Enrique went on to compete in Brazil, where he racked up 4 straight wins. That activity was outside of the UFC and USADA's jurisdiction, but once the suspension expired, just a month ago, the UFC wasted no time in adding him to the roster. And here's the kicker. He was actually already signed back in March 2023, but failed a second drug test before his debut. The result? A retroactive 2-year suspension from USADA. That ban just ended, and now here he is, back in the mix. Fans didn't hold back. Social media exploded with criticism. Terrible signing. Why would the UFC sign someone who lost and got caught cheating before his debut? So now fighters can take PEDs, bulk up, get suspended, and come back like nothing happened. What makes Enrique so special? Who's he connected to? This is a joke. No wonder the UFC is headed toward no hype, no stars. They're signing bums who cheat, and maybe the most savage one. Hope Dana gave him a $5,000 contract. That's all he deserves. So here's the big question for the fans. Should fighters who pop for PEDs be given second chances? Does winning 4 regional fights erase a drug suspension and a Contender Series loss? Let us know what you think. Was this just business or a bad look for the UFC? And finally, some big news for fans of the last style bender. Israel Adesanya has officially confirmed that he will fight again in the UFC. Now, just last week, there were serious questions surrounding Adesanya's future. After suffering a shocking loss to Nasruddin Imavov, his city kickboxing coach Eugene Behrman publicly stated that he wasn't quite sure what the future held for Izzy. His words at the time, that Izzy's off doing Izzy. And honestly, after 3 tough losses in a row and no clear path back to the title, many fans assumed he might quietly walk away, that maybe we'd seen the last of the last stylebender inside the octagon. But now, everything's changed. In a new interview with Submission Radio, Behrman revealed that during Alexander Volkanovski's big comeback win this past weekend in Miami, Izzy, who was in attendance backstage, pulled him aside for a quick chat. According to Behrman, the one brief conversation he had with me in the changing room after Volk's fight, he said, "Look man, I think I'm going to fight again." That's right, after everything he's been through, after stepping away from the spotlight, Israel Adesanya says he wants to fight again. Behrman emphasized that they're not yet talking about opponents or matchmaking. This isn't about who's next or what division. Right now, the focus is deeper than that. It's internal. They're having raw, personal conversations about desire, purpose, and whether Izzy still has that fire inside. We're having conversations about whether he should fight again, or whether he feels like he should, or whether he still has has that hunger. That's where we are. So before fans start fantasy booking names like Duplessis, Strickland, or Khamzat, it's important to remember this is still a mental and emotional decision. And yet, one thing is clear, Adesanya hasn't closed the book on his career just yet. Maybe, just maybe, watching his teammate Volkanovski reclaim gold sparked something inside him. Maybe that moment backstage reminded him of what he's still capable of. Izzy might be in the twilight years of his career, but he's not done yet. The last stylebender is still standing, still thinking, and very likely still coming back. Stay tuned.